Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football Dill Saturday afternoon. Brent Venables, the Oklahoma Sooners, pick up what I would say is a much needed win for this program on the recruiting trail. Four-star offensive lineman Deacon Schmitt from Colorado committing to Oklahoma. Nasty dude, like a guy that you want on your offensive lines, especially in the SEC. Now, Dill, I know Oklahoma has kind of pitched tackle to him. I think there's a chance that he can make it work at right tackle. At least in my opinion, probably going to be more of an inside guy. That's not necessarily a knock. I'm just looking at the strengths of this kid and say, look, put him in a phone booth. Go let him impose his will on opposing defensive linemen. That's the best part about his game. Versatility, nastiness, two things you like to see with your offensive line commitments. And Dill, we'll get into Deacon Schmitt. I also want to talk about what Oklahoma is doing on the recruiting trail, where, we talked about it a little bit earlier this week. I kind of want to dive back into the conversation. I got some feedback from the Oklahoma fans as well. We got a lot to talk about, fired up to get into it. Before we do, and as always, to the Oklahoma fans, appreciate you guys. And Dill, we say this a lot. I mean, when we started this thing out a couple of years ago, Oklahoma fans, they were one of the first fans that were rocking with the boys. We appreciate you guys. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. Dill, without further ado, let's start with Deacon Schmitt and let's kind of work our way into, hey, is the high school recruiting good enough? But Deacon Schmitt, I'm going to give you the T-box here. What's he bringing to Norman?
I mean, you said it. It's summed up by the physicality he plays with and the edge that he plays with.
Yeah.
And that's something that you didn't really feel like Oklahoma had last
Sure.
year, like the mentality to go out there, dominate, be really, really physical, maybe kind of toe the line a little bit between like over the top and be like not aggressive enough. I'd rather have my offensive lineman kind of be on the other side of that line, if you will. And I just don't think that felt like the case for Oklahoma last year. That's going to be an identity that they probably need to bring back, especially with the way Brent Venables is going to build this team. And you can tell it's going to be a defensive-led team. I know that they're going to probably try to get their offense back rolling, but Brent Venables, he's a defensive guy. That's where they recruit the best under him. I think you need offensive lines that can run the ball.
You want to run. Look, if we're talking about Oklahoma, making a run in the college football playoffs and winning a national championship over the next couple of years, it's going to be on the backs of an elite defense like they're going to have that in 2025, and it's going to be an elite run game like that. That's, to me, the recipe for Oklahoma. This cat right here, Deacon Schmitt, he going to help you do that. Now, Dill, I'm kind of interested to get your take. Plays right tackle at high school. I do think Oklahoma might be recruiting him a little bit at the tackle position. I'm going to ask you, tackle, guard, what do you see in Deacon Schmitt?
I mean, he's got the length and size to play tackle for sure. I'm not sure I see the athletic. Well, and I don't even know about that because he actually blocks pretty well in space. Like his pass pro, do I see like tackle fluidity right now?
No.
Maybe not. But I also don't get the sense his high school team throws the ball a ton. Like they ask him to do what he does. Like they run the ball a lot. He's really physical in that route. Yeah. Again, he's got like athleticism in the open field at times. So it'll be interesting to kind of see where he develops. But I think his high school film kind of screaming guard to me.
Well, and that's kind of where I'm at, where it's just like I'm watching this dude put people in the dirt, and like I want to put him in a phone booth, and I want to just see him impose his will at the next level. You're right. Maybe I'll rephrase it and say it's not that I don't see tackle in him. It's just I don't know because there's not a ton of reps where you're seeing the pass protection. You're seeing what that looks like.
And the reps you see are like, again, he's winning with physicality. He's winning by getting his hands on guys and kind of standing them up. Like, do you see like the really fluid kick slides kind of on the way back, like in that ability to play that? That's probably not exactly what you see, but again, like athletically and like size and length, like he certainly has those traits that you're kind of looking for. It's just like, does he have the polish and the fluidity that like a Michael Fasusi, like you knew that he had what you need to be a really, really elite tackle. You just don't really see that.
Dill, it's almost the conversation also with Ryan Foji, where it's like, all right, I think he can make it work at tackle, but hey, you want to put your guys in the best positions to be successful. It might be guard for Deacon Schmitt, it might be tackle. And Dill, I'll say this. I love versatility on my offensive line. Like it just becomes a lot easier to put out a quality starting five and have the depth, which Oklahoma certainly did not have last year, When you have guys that, hey, we need you to make it work at tackle for a game, then we'll kick you back inside. When you have that flexibility, that position flex, it helps your offensive line as a whole immensely. We like it, and it's a guy that fits what Brent Venables is trying to do. Second part of this conversation, and again, to the Oklahoma fans, this is the conversation that kind of gets me going. I think it's a very exciting conversation. Would love to hear from you guys in the comment section. What do you think of Oklahoma's recruiting efforts at the high school ranks? Because, Dill, I'll say this. I think it's very clear. They are not interested in participating in the bidding wars for the top 50 guys ranked nationally. What's your take on what this is clear Jim Nagy, right? Because Brent Venables prior to Jim Nagy, he's taking his swings. What is your take on Jim Nagy's roster building for Oklahoma over the next couple of years?
I think you got to land a few more probably top end guys, and especially at certain positions. Like Jake Cruel now feels like a battle that I almost think I don't want to say is a must win because I don't necessarily believe in that as a concept, but that's a big one for this class because again, you're just not fishing that many elite players out of the defense and offensive lines from the portal. It's just like good teams, Georgia, Texas, Oklahoma, their best defensive line. Like David Stone didn't leave Oklahoma to hit the portal. It's really hard to pull those guys out. So I look like I'm a little concerned probably about the offensive line, defensive line in this class not yet having
Sure.
a couple of premier names. And again, you don't need to be a top 10 recruiting class. Like I think you probably should be in the top 20 kind of at a bare minimum.
Yeah.
I feel like Oklahoma is probably going to get themselves kind of there. But they got to land a couple of those real impact guys like they did last year with like Vasusi.
I'll say this, though. Do I understand the concept of, hey, let's just use, I think I used Felix Ojo for the last example, so I think he will stick with him. Felix Ojo, do I think he's going to be a great tackle? Yeah. Do I know he's probably going to take a couple of years before he's ready? Yeah, I also think that. Do I understand the concept of, yeah, I'd rather allocate, because look, if you want Felix Ojo, you're going to have to allocate some significant resources to go land Felix Ojo. Would I rather allocate my resources to a different player, maybe in the transfer portal, that I think I know what I'm getting and I'm going to get it immediately? Do I think that concept makes sense? Yeah, I 100% understand the concept, but at the same time, I go look at the top 15 picks in the NFL draft. You had two guys that were transfer portal dudes, and those were two at the top of the board with unique situations in Cam Ward and Travis Hunter. The rest of them, especially along the line of scrimmage, those were guys recruited out of high school. And to kind of your point, when you want to access the ceiling of a program, when you want to win college football playoff games, when you want to win national championships, which don't get me wrong, that's the expectation in Norman, Oklahoma. I do think you need those kind of guys, and you get those guys out of the high school ranks. Now, maybe Jim Nagy believes in his evaluations and saying, hey, maybe we're getting some guys that might be 3-star prospects because they're not great right now, but could be great in a couple of years. Maybe that's kind of what you're seeing. But I am with you in the sense that, look, there's a reason these guys are 5-stars, and there's a reason that the teams that win national championships are consistently getting those kind of guys at the high school ranks. I am with you to an extent where it's you got to go land a few of those guys, especially like you said, along the line of scrimmage, because you ain't finding first team all SEC guys.
Like Taj Overton feels like to me kind of a battle that disappointing to not
Shouldn't
win.
lose that ever.
Like that's an in-state battle.
Yeah.
You are the clear dominant program in the state. Like I don't think anyone really thinks that's like an Alabama Auburn
and a line of scrimmage player.
And again, it felt like that's like the type battle that, again, if something's going to concern me, it's that. Like if they lose Jordan Clay, for example, to Baylor, that would be one that it's like, oh, should you be losing that battle to Baylor? And I'm with you. I don't know that maybe you don't need to have 5-stars in your class out of high school because, again, you're putting up a lot of your resources to kind of tie up in guys who, again, like, yeah, they have really high upsides, but you see enough 5-star busts to kind of make you take a second look maybe, but they got to win these. Like the guys they're going after, they got to win these battles.
Because it's what's interesting is, Dill, it's not like Oklahoma's whiffing. It's like they're not even really going out there and trying and participating in those recruitments. That's the intriguing part, and I think it has a lot to do with Jim Nagy saying, hey, everybody, especially with revenue sharing kind of getting ushered in and a little bit more of like a cap on how much your rosters will be able to cost. You're trying to find hey, what's the best way we can use the resources available to us to build our roster the best? And you're seeing Jim Nagy kind of zag. Well, is that's a everybody else is zigging and Jim Nagy zagging in terms of roster building. And look, am I concerned about it? Yes. Do I think it's the best way to go about it? No, because I think historically you've seen the recipe work, and that is recruit elite guys out of high school. Hey, there's a reason Jim Nagy is getting paid the big bucks, and I'm sitting here in my basement. And so we're gonna see if it makes sense and if it works. And Dill, I will say this: I mean, you talk about teams that are most improved, in my opinion, going into 2025. I don't think there's many more improved teams than them Oklahoma Sooners. And we both know how dangerous they can be. But what I would stress is like, look, I know John Mateer is getting a lot of the excitement, but what's the main reason we believe in Oklahoma? It's that defensive line that was homegrown. It's the linebackers that were outside of Kendall Daniels, homegrown. We'll see. Oklahoma fans, let it fly, please. Appreciate you guys rocking with it. Really fun conversation for the boys to have.
And this will be ongoing because we know how fluid, like, Florida was kind of in this situation heading into the season
It's a
last
very
year.
good point, man.
Kind of like, oh, there wasn't
Yeah.
a ton of momentum around the program, and then they closed with kind of a top 10 class. So,
You know,
again, we'll see. Like, maybe Jim Nagy is just kind of slow playing it, and he's going to turn it up when he wants to turn it up. And it wouldn't stun me at all because Oklahoma should be able to go out there and be very competitive.
and you could make the deal. You can make the argument. Sorry to cut you off here. That kind of similar situation. Why was it so hard for Florida to recruit last year at this time? Well, everybody was talking about Billy Napier on the hot seat. That's kind of the conversation around Brent Venables for a lot, and rightfully so, right? You know, if Brent Venables doesn't put it together in the 2025 year, those voices are going to get loud. And hell,
if he has a bad year with this team, because now he's got a team that's very capable of being a top 10, top 15 team in the country.
Yeah.
If he goes out there, lays an egg, I don't think he's on the hot seat necessarily, but there's going to be some real conversations around.
And then the vice versa is, all right, what if you go out and go 10-2? And then in the month of November, say, oh yeah, people seeing where the direction we going. And maybe you get the spatula out and start flipping some big dogs.
And then maybe you don't need to be like the premium payer, if you will, for every guy that you want. Because when you're like on top and you got the momentum, things are a little bit different. So again, my only concern, frankly, is like if they like lose some of these battles to teams that I just think are legions below where Oklahoma's at, Oklahoma State, Baylor, that's probably what would
Well, my biggest concern is, especially with the line of scrimmage, you should be bringing in some blue chip tackles and you should be bringing in some blue chip line of scrimmage players. And I just don't know if I see enough of that. And look, we'll see how it goes. Again, I'll cut it with this. Jim Nagy is a heck of a lot smarter than me. We'll close it out. Appreciate you guys again. Let it fly in the comment section. We'll talk to y'all later.